Hello, and a warm welcome to the Ghatna Chakra book video. Let's begin this journey where we will present every topic in a simple, clear, and exam-oriented manner.
Hey there, ever looked at a piece of land and wondered what it's officially worth? I'm not talking about the asking price, but the actual number the government has on its books. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today, how that official value is actually set. So, let's say you just bought your dream plot. You get the official paperwork, and there it is, an official value. But where did they even get that number? Is it what you paid? Is it some old number they pulled from a dusty file cabinet? Let's figure out how that price really gets decided. This whole thing is kind of like a puzzle. When you think about it, there are really only two ways this could work, and they lead to totally different answers. On one hand, you could just have a fixed price from some government rule book. That's stable, sure, but it could also be super outdated. On the other hand, you could just use the current market price, what people are actually paying for similar land right now. That's realistic, but it could change tomorrow. So, which one is it? Luckily, we don't have to guess. There's actually a specific rule that lays out the whole process plain and simple. The answer is found in a legal rule called Section 26. This is the rule that cuts through all the confusion. It's basically an instruction manual for figuring out the official market value of land. And it even points to the specific person whose job it is to do it. And that person is called the collector. This is the government official who has to figure out what the land is worth. But, and this is important, they don't just get to pick a number out of a hat. Section 26 gives them a very clear formula to follow. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. The law doesn't make the collector choose between the government rulebook and what's happening in the real world. Nope. It actually requires them to use both. So the first piece of the puzzle is something called the guideline value. This comes from an official register, like the Indian Stamp Act, which sets a baseline price for land in that specific area. You can think of it as the government's official starting price. But that's only half the story. The second factor is the real market value. The collector also has to go out and see what similar land in the area has been selling for. This is the real-world data, what your neighbors are actually paying right now. So it really boils down to two clear steps. First, the collector looks up the official book value from the Stamp Act. Then they have to investigate the actual street value by looking at recent sales of similar properties, right there in the neighborhood. And this right here is the absolute key to the whole thing. The collector doesn't just get to pick the higher number or the one they like better. They have to consider both the official guideline value and the real-world market value to make an informed decision. It's all about finding that balance. So you might be asking, why all the trouble? Why not just pick one method and stick with it? Well, there's a really important reason for this two-factor system. It's all about fairness. The logic here is pretty brilliant, actually. If you only used the official guideline value, the price could be completely out of touch with reality, right? But if you only use the latest market price, things could get unstable and unpredictable. This method forces a healthy compromise between a stable benchmark and what's actually happening on the ground. So what's the big takeaway here? By combining a stable government baseline with the real-world market data, the system tries to find a price that's fair, transparent, and actually makes sense. It's designed to protect everyone from prices that are either ridiculously low or just way too high. And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. This whole system is built on two pillars, right? The official value and the real-world price. But what happens when those two numbers aren't just a little different? What happens when they are worlds apart? That's when this simple rule can get very, very complicated.